la casa, Dani. Questa è la statale.
On June 30th, 2025, northern Italy and western Austria were struck simultaneously by two devastating natural disasters. In Italy, a sudden and violent cloudburst turned the Rio Frejus into a destructive torrent that swept through the mountain town of Bardonecchia, submerging entire neighborhoods and claiming one life. At the same time in Tyrol, Austria, severe thunderstorms triggered a chain of massive mudslides in the Gschnitztal valley, cutting off entire mountain settlements and forcing large-scale aerial evacuations. These concurrent disasters revealed major weaknesses in regional flood defenses, mountain infrastructure, and emergency response systems, raising serious questions about preparedness and future resilience in Alpine areas. Stay with me till the end of the report to see the full impact of these disasters on both countries. In Bardonecchia, located in the Piedmont region near the French border, a 3-hour deluge in the early afternoon overwhelmed the Rio Frejus, also known locally as the Rio Merdovine. The steep mountain terrain rapidly channeled runoff into the town's center. Streets turned into rivers, submerging bridges and making key routes like Via Einaudi and Passeggiata Donatori di Sangue impassable. The floodwaters cut off the A32 motorway and paralyzed the SS 335 highway. Authorities raised the emergency alert to the maximum level and ordered all residents to remain indoors. Tragically, a 70-year-old man was swept away after leaving his vehicle and attempting to escape the rising waters. His body was later found approximately 400 meters downstream, near the confluence of the Rio Frejus and Rio Dēadly. Emergency teams from Turin and surrounding towns mobilized immediately. Approximately 10 people were rescued from a residential building inundated by water, and 4 others were evacuated from submerged vehicles. The flooding disrupted cross-border transport. The international railway line between Salatrand and Modane was suspended. According to regional officials, damage to roads, railway tracks, and embankments is extensive and requires urgent repair. President Alberto Cirio described the event as a water bomb and noted that the Rio Frejus had already overflowed in 2023, signaling a trend of increasing severity. Temporary shelters were established for evacuees, and damage assessments began immediately. Engineers focused on inspecting bridges, slope reinforcements, and riverbank protections. Several municipalities near Bardonecchia were also affected, but Bardonecchia bore the brunt of the impact. In Austria's Tyrol region, at around 6 p.m., torrential rainfall triggered 6 major mudslides in the Gschnitztal valley. These slides burst the banks of the Gschnitzbach stream, sending mud and debris crashing into homes and mountain lodges, including Bremerhütte, Innsbruckerhütte, and Tribulonhütte. Residents of Gschnitz described terrifying scenes of water mixed with rock and soil sweeping away small structures and blocking all access routes. The Austrian armed forces deployed Black Hawk helicopters to airlift nearly 100 people, including residents, hikers, and hut operators, after reconnaissance flights were delayed by hailstorms. No casualties were reported, but structural damage is widespread. Several traditional Alpine huts and the well-known Mühlendorf open-air museum were seriously damaged or completely buried under debris. Local emergency officials urged residents to stay inside, avoid basements, and keep away from stream embankments. Recovery operations have involved fire crews, earth-moving equipment, and geotechnical inspection teams. The entire Gschnitztal area remains under strict observation, with slope movement sensors and drone surveillance now in place. Mudslides in Alpine regions are triggered when extreme rainfall saturates the soil on steep slopes. Once water infiltrates deeply enough to break the cohesion of underlying layers, entire masses of rock, soil, and vegetation begin to slide. In the Gschnitztal Valley, rainfall accumulated so quickly that the terrain became destabilized across multiple sites at once. The narrowness of these valleys concentrated the runoff, converting ordinary streams like the Gschnitztal into powerful conduits of destruction. In Bardonecchia, similar mechanisms led to a sudden surge in the Rio Frejus, whose confined channel rapidly overflowed. Meteorological and hydrological experts attribute these disasters to intense convective storms, which release enormous volumes of rain over small areas in very short time frames. On June 30th, months' worth of precipitation fell within just a few hours over narrow alpine catchments. These valleys act like natural funnels, accelerating and concentrating water flow. Experts emphasize that while local flood defenses such as riverbanks, culverts, and retention basins are designed for more regular conditions, they were never intended to withstand events of this magnitude. Recurrent overtopping of streams like the Rio Frejus and Gschnitztal since 2023 has exposed the limitations of current infrastructure. Geotechnical studies have also flagged issues such as inadequate drainage systems and aging slope stabilization structures. Municipalities in both countries are now updating hazard maps and reviewing the design standards of critical infrastructure. Authorities in Italy and Austria have initiated multi-phase recovery and adaptation strategies. In Bardonecchia, top priorities include stabilizing weakened riverbanks, reinforcing bridges, and inspecting road foundations along the A32 and S335. The international railway line is undergoing structural checks before service can resume. Relief centers remain open to assist displaced residents, and funding from national disaster programs is being allocated for rebuilding efforts. In Austria, emergency crews continued debris removal in Gschnitztal, while technical teams assess slope stability and monitor movement with instruments like inclinometers. Reconstruction of cultural heritage sites, such as the Mühlendorf Museum, is already being planned with new engineering standards that prioritize resistance to natural disasters. Local councils, engineers, and emergency planners agree. Alpine towns must now plan for extreme weather as a recurring threat, not a rare anomaly. Investments in adaptive infrastructure, risk communication, and response coordination are now viewed as essential to protecting lives, homes, and economies in mountain regions increasingly vulnerable to rapid onset disasters. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay aware.
Guardala, guarda!